Hi everyone. Who likes surprises in here? Yeah. Okay. I have tricked you, sorry. Surprises are more ugly than beautiful. You have been misled by the chocolate here. To everyone who this sounds familiar, I have not been copying the talk from yesterday. Sorry, Miroslav. This is actually just a refurbished talk from the Pi Days in 2019. I hope everything still works. And it's inspired by a talk on JavaScript from 2012. You might know it, what JavaScript. It's a bit more easy to talk about the ugly side of JavaScript in Python, but I still wanted to give it a try. Okay, so Python is a beautiful language, right? You can do nice stuff. You can, for example, convert a string to an integer. Nice, right? You can do the same with a float. Okay, and you can also do the same with a bool. Nice, right? Okay, so of course, true equals true, right? No, I was doing it wrong. I should not have been using a string here. True is true, and true is really true, right? But how about the empty set? Is the empty set equal to the empty set? Of course, is the empty set equal to the empty set? But the empty set is not the empty set. Okay, that's confusing now. Does this have any meaning at all? Let's set the meaning to 42. Life is also 42, so the meaning of life equals, the meaning equals life, so this is true, of course. And the meaning is also the life, this is also true, but let's try something different. Let's set the variable 1000 to 1000, and some other variable 2000. Then, of course, 1000 equals 1000, but 1000 is not the other variable. Okay, that's interesting. We could do more confusing stuff and ask if all this stuff has meaning. Let's set again the variable meaning to 42. Let's change that to 43, and let's look into that variable. Oh, it's still 42, that's confusing now. What is happening here? Okay, I'm just cheating here with some Unicode characters. So the E here is not an E. The second E in the second variable is actually a Unicode character which just looks like an E. And I've been tricking you. Yeah, sorry about that. Let's shrug here and import some fancy stuff. Okay, yeah. All of this is real Python code. I'm not joking. Okay, we can do fun stuff with Unicode characters, but at least Python enforces this stuff with whitespace characters, right? So we have to have our code nicely formatted. This is not mine, I've just stolen it by Jeff Presching. This nice code generates the Mandelbrot set, of course. Yeah. There's more on GitHub. You can find the sources. All of these were real Python code. If you want to surprise me, hit me up with a job offer. I'm currently looking for a job. Yeah, thanks for the really nice conference, and don't do evil things, not with Python and not elsewhere.
In Ljubljana, there is another developer that was also present yesterday here in the conference, and she gave a talk and wrote a blog post about how developers are always arguing, which started with this t-shirt, which she apparently found you can actually buy. Her main hypothesis is that we developers do a lot of our work in silence, and by the time we open a pull request, we have already thought of everything, and of course we're not going to consider any other options, especially not when it's just somebody that looked at it for 3 seconds and decided, no, this won't work. But then we actually talked during the conference, and I say on both projects that I work, I actually never have arguments on pull requests. So I decided to maybe go through a quick points of why that might actually happen in case they were going to be useful. First of all, for the majority of my time, I was the maintainer on the code nobody wanted to maintain. So every pull request that people were arguing always had the danger of, I just decided, you do the stuff, and nobody wanted to do that. But that's not always a good option. The other one is that in at least my team at work, we tend to write really long pull request descriptions. Sometimes they're like over 1 page long, where we describe everything, just to make sure that a person reviewing it actually understands what you did and what you tried and why you were actually doing that. The third version was I work with the conflict-averse people, so they tend to avoid conflicts. Doesn't work for me because I like conflicts. But yeah. But this is the point that probably works for me. I always assume the other person knows more than me. And yeah, that means in both directions, even if I'm a reviewer or if I'm the person that works the code. And that means even if I look at it and think this is deeply, deeply wrong. That means that both my comments and my coworker comments, and also on a project I volunteer, tends to be questions and observations, or actually explanations of why this is wrong. I never give a comment of something is just wrong. It's always longer. It helps to just act like you're the stupidest person in the room and get them to explain everything to you. I also tend to thank for any changes that they make based on my request, and I also get thanked back for every changes that I make, and that definitely makes me motivated to do it again. I also get people apologizing for me for making them more work, and I do the same in return. And I also praise all the good things that I've done. One of my favorites is, if you deleted a code from a code base, that's a really good thing. You get praised even if it wasn't intentional. Okay, when I say not intentional, not the deleting code that would delete bugs, but just the code that you don't need. Cleaning up the code is always good. And we tend to do that and celebrate all the changes, even if we don't want anything for the person to change in the pull request, and that creates a really good environment. Also, some of the discussions never tended away. I know that I was the person responsible that we introduced linter in one of our projects, because I was like, I don't see your semicolons and I don't bloody care about them. If you want me to do it automatically. Find a way to do it. It also helps if you know how to structure your work. So it helps if you're not like, okay, I need this person to really approve my pull request because I'm completely blocked. It helps if you know how to keep the drag and timing in place to actually work, but that would require a complete different talk. And also, I don't actually work I don't know how much of a factor is, but I don't work in the male-dominated team, because one of them, the females are the majority, and in the other one, the queers are the majority. I don't know if it helps, maybe. So yeah, the point is, be nice to each other, and don't forget that you might not know everything.
Yeah, I am relatively new in Python. I'm a data guy, I'm an economist, and now I am also looking for a job. And so yeah, right? I know statistics, and I'm pretty good in MATLAB, and you know, scikit-learn is really well documented. I went to a workshop on how to write a proposal a couple months ago, and so I wrote a proposal, and in a couple of weeks I am speaking at PyCon Vilnius, right, with you, and yeah. Siddharth is going to be there, and I would like to thank you and Amin if he's here for pushing me up here. So why am I here? I wanted an experience with PyCon before I speak at a PyCon. Why did I volunteer? Because I'm shy. And right? And anybody who's been, if I don't have a role, I will not come up and talk to you. I will just sit there and watch and be a flower on the, right? Yeah, and so this gets me talking, and it also kind of gets me in with the other speakers. Like, I have a reason to, hey, you're in a blue shirt, let me come up and talk to you, pretend like I know something. But I also have this diverse background. I think I mentioned a couple of y'all that I worked in tourism a bit. I think that came up. I've also managed a youth hostel, and yeah, we had some parties. And I remember the first one we had, by the time the beer bottle hit the floor, I am standing there with a mop. And that is what I'm bringing here. I'm bringing the horse what needs to be done. Want me to do this? Want me to do that? Sure, I'll do it. That just say yes. And anytime you want to get to know something, just say yes. The other thing is the vibe. I'm all about the vibe. It's the tourism thing, but it's also, I like you guys. I want to connect with you, and I want you guys to connect with each other. So let's talk a little before. Let's get the room warmed up. Let's make a connection. Make a vibe. Tell some jokes. We're not just a random person talking to random people. We all like Python, right? Yeah. Round of applause for Python, guys. And I also want to thank you guys for your unrelated topics, for all the time. Did you guys know that Robert is not just a professor here, but an avid sea kayaker? Right? Yeah, it was awesome last night talking to him about that. Everybody else that I talked to, half of it's technical stuff, half of it's weird random stuff, right? It was good fun. I like you guys. I like meeting you guys. I like hearing your stories and finding out. I mean, not all of your stories. Some of what you guys do is boring. Apologies to whoever talked about repairing servers earlier. It's just not my. And so finding that and connecting to that has been really great. I feel like an actual member of the Python community right now, and that's why I came. That's why I volunteered. And thank you guys.
Today we'll speak about writing less code. As Sarah mentioned, yes, PRs that remove codes are the best. Hopefully they don't remove unintended code. And today we'll be speaking a bit about 13-ish tips, and please try to count how many you didn't know. This is a prototype for a full-time talk, and we'll do a survey in the end, but we'll have to go through them really fast. The point is, there's lots of things we do in Python because we don't know of better ways or built-in ways or tricks to do them. All right, let's start. Default dict. How many of you are familiar with default dict? Okay, say a quarter, third-ish. If we have a list of tuples and we want to sort these people by their department, we could do that. So this is the type of code, of Python code we do, but then you could just do default dict of list and then just append, and if the key doesn't exist, it will create it. That's much nicer, much less prone to errors. Next one, name tuples. Name tuples, a very nice way of keeping data that isn't data class. So we could do a function that returns a tuple, but then we don't know really what the 0th and 1st coordinates are, and if you ever worked with geospatial data, you never know which is which. And then there is name tuples, which help you know what is what. It's not a class, it's immutable by default, and there's even a typey way to do that. And as bonus, you also get to print it nicely. So you get a point is x equals 3, y equals 4. Unlike data class, these are immutable by default, and they are comparable, they're hashable, they're iterable, they're slightly faster than data classes. So usually when you want to indicate that data shouldn't be modified, then go with named tuples. Pathlib, please stop using ospath, it's ugly. It's just ospath base name and then join of this and walk on 3 arguments. Instead, just use pathlib. It's built into the library, it's the standard library. It gives you the stem, the suffix, the parent. You can go all around. You can do overridden the slash operator, so you can join paths really nicely. Much better. Comes with a tiny performance cost. More Tools is a fantastic third-party library, no dependencies. It it weighs about 10K, and it has fantastic tools like one. Ever wanted to make sure that your iterable only has one item? You could do if len is more than 1, raise the value, or otherwise, you could just do 1 of 42 brings you 42. You want a custom exception? You could do that. So 1 of snake and whatever crab this is raises value error, or if you do too short equals index error for some reason, then you could do that. Another one is MapReduce, fantastic thing. We do a lot in Python because we're not aware of this. So if I want to take a list of letters and then group them into the key, to the capital version. So A has all the A's, capital B has all the B's. I could do this with 6-ish lines of code, or I could import more tools and then just do key function is x.upper. Then I get the same dictionary with the key is the upper version. Always iterable. Another thing we do a lot in Python is I want to greet users, and they could be 0 users, 1 or more users. I could do, if it's none, do nothing. If it's a string, just put it in brackets. Otherwise, just print it, and then just per username, greet them, and then this will work. Everything I showed you here works, but it's not pretty. You could also do this. Always iterable, takes a none, takes a string, takes everything, and treats it as a series of strings. You could also tell it what the base types are. The default is string and bytes. And then another one, partition, another thing that is very common. I want to split values based on predicates, so a function that returns a Boolean. I could do, if it divides by 2, then it's even, or I could do from more tools, import partition, give it the lambda, bam, I have the odds and the evens. Chunks, another thing we do a lot. This is very short but very unclear code. And if I could only do from more tools import chunked, and I tell them, okay, I want it chunked by 2, and then even the 5 at the end doesn't crash because they're okay, they're safe. I could also look at a sliding window, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, at any size. Cycle, if for some reason I want to go, oh, that was quick. Yes, use by identic settings.
Hi everyone, my name is Vlad and I would like to present my project FineCode, which aims to improve developer experience in a workspace. Dor gave yesterday a great talk about importance of tools like code linters, code formatters, type checkers, and so on. So let's agree they are important and take a look how does it look like in practice. So we create a new project, we configure all tools either manually or by using the project template. And what we get? We get 8 config files and more than 220 lines of config. Later, we start a new project. We either copy-paste this config or start again with a project template, and we get again more than 220 lines of configuration. So it's easy to create a new copy of configuration, but we should also keep in mind maintenance cost. To keep all these things up to date, yeah, it's time consuming. So could this be improved? Sure, that's why I started my project. How FineCode solves this problem? We just put configuration in the Python package. It becomes automatically versioned, distributable, reusable, and this piece of configuration is called in FineCode preset, and presets are modifiable, extendable, and composable. How we can use them? We just add FineCode and presets as development dependencies. We enable one or more presets in FineCode configuration, and that's it. So we created a project, we configured all the tools, and it's time to start coding. We open IDE, for example, VS Code. Here we see a bit more complex workspace with 3 sub-projects, and what do we expect from IDE? That it automatically switches virtual ends when we switch between files of single sub-projects, that it runs tools in correct virtual environments, and that it uses correct configurations of each sub-project. Does it work out of the box? No. Is it achievable at all? Mostly yes, if you are ready to bunch of problems and you are ready to solve them. Can FineCode help? Yes, if you configure all tools with fine code, they will work automatically in all environments you use, in IDE, in CI/CD, and in CLI. So we saw that fine code can help to configure tools like code linters, conformators, and so on. And is it can? No, one of main differences of fine code compared to other tool runners is IDE integration. IDE integration means not only passing correct configurations to IDE to run the tools, but also we can access IDE API directly from our tools. And with this, we could, for example, easily to develop a tool which shows visibility of module members directly near definition in IDE. We don't need anymore to scroll down to all variable and then back just to check whether this function is public or not. And also we could extend this tool by adding a code action which switches visibility of this module member. And yeah, this is just a small example. Current status of the project is in active development, and watch on GitHub. The first beta release is expected in May, which intended for public usage. And if you are interested, have ideas, questions, or just would like to discuss something related, just reach out on GitHub. Thank you.
There we go, okay. I tried to cram in more abbreviations, but I just ended up with two. Abusing the AST module as an ad hoc DSL. Okay, what is the AST module? I think there were talks about it, I hope you heard about it, but the idea of the AST module is that you can actually parse Python code within Python. You see here on the left-hand side, we are actually parsing it. I know it's exactly to read, but we have a Python code as a string and we're parsing it, and then we can actually use it for some reason or another. Usually it's done for testing or for, I don't know, code completion tools or whatever else, but I'm actually using it for production. So, I make a complete context switch. I'm talking about satellite data. This is Sentinel-2, one of the two. It takes images, but images are not really, like, most of the data it takes is not really visual. It takes data from near infrared to other spectrum, and it has wide areas of usage, so agricultural, coastal area observation, land cover, inland water, whatever, so you can extract a bunch of information out of that. Also, next context switch, I was working for 14 years on this project. I recently switched, but I still can't get it out of my head, so I'm talking about it. It is an open source solution application to manage satellite images. And it allows you to create maps of satellite data and provides you custom visualizations. So now we connect the three things. We have the AST module where you can like parse Python. We have satellite images, and we have this project. So I hope it makes sense now. Okay, on the left-hand side we have an RGB image. So this is satellite image. On the right-hand side we have an NDVI, which is called the Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, which basically means red, no vegetation, green, more vegetation. And this is some of the information that you can actually pull out of these satellite images. The expression to actually generate this information is this one. So it takes in the near infrared and the red band, but to me this actually reads like Python. So yeah, actually pretty cool. The users can basically define their own expressions on what information you want to extract. Yeah, so why not use Python for exactly this reason? Okay, first off, we need to investigate these expressions to actually see which bands, which fields we're actually interested in. So code for that. It's a lot of like iterating and walking through the AST code. Yeah, right. Then we're actually evaluating it, like when we have read the satellite images into the fields, we make a recursive walk through the AST nodes and evaluate them one by one. And in the end, what we get back is like a nice an NumPy array, which we can then visualize. Right, why don't we use evil? Like evil is evil, we all know that, because we could do shenanigans like this. This is a valid Python thing, and if we were simply evaluating it, we would be in a world of hurt. There are ways to constrict users, but it's actually tough to plug all the holes, and it's actually, I think, impossible to come up with solutions to fix all of this. There will be jailbreaks all the time, so evil is not an option. There's also like custom parser solutions, PLI, Lark, Graco, so like there's a bunch of those. I tried to find out a couple of names, but the list is endless. But why don't we use them? Because it is effort, and the AST module is just there and ready to use. But like in the end, it might be better to make a custom solution. Right, thank you.
So hello, so this is my social calendar. I like the conference, and I noticed that nobody mentioned the big news of the last week in the packaging ecosystem, which is PEP 751. So for many years, we did not have any standard that would be interchangeable and interoperable between many tools and packaging. We would have requirements files, we would have poetry log, UV log, whatever. And whenever you rely on this thing, you are locking the end users to one single tool. And if somebody wants to use something else, or if you have a need to do so, you have to do some tricks to do conversions and whatnot. So there has been a huge effort to make this happen over a year of heated discussions. And I mean more than 400 messages on discourse python.org. And this person, Brad Cannon, was leading that. He's great. The PEP was accepted 5 days ago, 5-ish, and it incorporates suggestions by a lot of maintainers of packaging tools, including PDM, pip tools, pip, UV, and poetry and whatnot. So, starting this year and forward, you will probably see a file called pylog.toml, or a file that starts with pylog and ends with .toml. So this is what the standard defines, and it is more or less a replacement for requirements.txt functionally, but it implements more. It allows the tools to pre-resolve a lot of sets of dependencies and record them in a static format. Decoupling the installation of the, say, requirements. This speeds up the installation. So for example, if there is a tool that generates this file, it does this once, it gets committed, and then the installer, it just iterates over this thing, and it never does the dependency resolution, which can be quite costly. The standard also has the built-in provenance information. It's probably not here, but it exists somewhere. So the provenance information means that the tools can record where they got the package. And this can later be tracked for security purposes and so on. It also includes things like SHA hashes, and there is a section for PEP 740 digital attestations that PyPI now allows people to upload. For example, by using my action PyPI publish if you upload it from PyPI. There is a pull request in pip that has an experimental implementation of a command that would generate this file. This is only the generation part. It will probably be merged in 2 weeks, and it will probably be in pip 25.2, and you can try it out. But there is no installer command. Unfortunately, some tools cannot fully rely on this file. For example, UV said that, hey, we do a lot more things with stuff, so we will keep using our own special log file. So if you are going to use UV, you are going to be vendor logged, but they are going to support at least exporting into this format, as many other things, which I think is a win. And I have a mandatory XACD. That's all from me.